So as I discussed last segment, are the Republicans ready to play offense, or will they stay on the defensive? Over the last few weeks, between outside groups coordinating together to support President Biden, a new effort to discredit GOP members of Congress, and an ambitious year-end agenda, there's already frustration with the party as it prepares to reclaim control of the House. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich chiming in a recent column saying, quote, if Republicans are going to successfully work through the next 2 years in Congress and win the presidency in 2024, we need to look much more deeply at what worked and what did not work in 2020 and 2022. We need to rethink from the ground up how we are going to defeat big government socialism, including almost inevitable second-time Democrat presidential nominee Biden. To discuss I can think of no better person to discuss this issue with than Sean Spicer, the host of Spicer and Company and former White House press secretary. Sean, thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Tom.
So Sean, there's some frustration, you know, out there. You saw the vote in the Senate on the redefinition of marriage. The former speaker is out there talking about the fact that, you know, maybe they don't really have their act together and they're behind the eight ball already on this, whether it's the next session of Congress or it's 2024. You know, your initial comments.
Well, look, I think Democrats are unified a lot more than Republicans are, and I think that goes just about it has to do a lot more with their mentality. Yeah. They tend to follow the leader a lot better. Republicans don't vote for stupid candidates. And I mean, you look at some of the candidates that Democrats put up this cycle, they're horrible, they're pathetic, but they still all rallied around them and they voted for them. Republicans tend to critique our candidates more and say, I don't like this individual. I don't think that they're as principled as they should be, or they're not running the campaign that I'd like them to be. And that's just the nature of, I think, frankly, that's why you're a conservative, because you think more, you're smarter, you're more intellectual. And so that's just the nature of, frankly, the ideology to some degree. But I think one of the things that Democrats have also done is utilized and harnessed outside groups better. Republicans tend to like to spend money and put them on TV ads and think that it's great. Democrats have done a lot better job organizing. You've seen a refrain, Tom, since the election, that Democrats have done a better job getting ballots, whereas Republicans focus on votes. And so for people who are sitting there saying, I don't get the difference is that Republicans focus on, like, the individuals. Democrats are going, great, I'll harvest the ballots. They don't really care about the individual. They just are trying to figure out, how do I get that number larger than the other number? Yeah, it's a relentless pursuit of that agenda, and it seems that Republicans don't really quite have that same posture. There's also this new autopsy, which was announced, and I hate that term, autopsy, but there was one that was announced by the RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel this week. You can understand why a lot of folks are saying, like, how many times are we going to do this and then get, you know, little change in that overall posture? What do you think about the autopsy? Well, first of all, look, I've spent 24 years in the military. Every time you do an exercise or a plan, you do an after-action report. You look at what you did right and you look at what you did wrong. I believe that makes a lot of sense. Even when you win, you want to know why you won. What did you do really well? So if you play a game, if you do well in business or marketing, frankly, when you and I do shows, I tend to look back and say, okay, what went well in that show? What didn't go well? And how can we make it sustain the good and get rid of the bad? So I give them credit for at least doing that. But the role of the RNC in a midterm election, frankly, is to raise and transfer money, to put it out into the states and to send it to the two other federal committees that focus on Senate and House candidates. That's their main job in a midterm. So unless they had a problem with that, I think that a lot of it might be window dressing. But at the end of the day, you know, I was part of the one in 2012 where we looked at the party writ large, and we made some tremendous strides in advancing. I mean, we talked about how to improve in digital. How do we make outside groups more a part of the party infrastructure writ large? So things like America Rising came about, the Data Trust came about, things that really made us much more efficient as a party and effective. There's a good way to do this. And the question is, are they going to do this real, or is this just a PR stunt? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things when you and I I do this for our shows, we do tend to make things better. We try not to make the same mistakes over and over again. And a lot of folks say, well, that tends to be what the Republicans are doing here. As we mentioned, you know, Senate Republicans capitulated to the Democrats to redefine marriage earlier this week without sufficient religious liberty protections. Now, in order to avert a December 16th deadline, which could lead to a government shutdown, it seems that Republicans are going to go along with a massive omnibus, you know, Democrat-driven spending spree. And that's going to mean hundreds of billions of dollars. The bill includes $9 billion for COVID funding, $38 billion in additional Ukrainian aid, at least $100 billion annually for tax extensions and the Democrats' sort of child tax credit expansion, a 10% increase in non-defense spending. Is that the right move for McConnell and McCarthy to look again like they're playing the Democrats' game?
Well, look, at least on the House side, McCarthy doesn't have a choice. At least until January, Pelosi still controls the House, and they don't need any input from the minority. So I'll give the House a pass, or the Republicans in the House a pass.
But Sean, I mean, couldn't he come out now and say, look, we're not going to give them everything that they want here. We need to be fiscally responsible. Let's go back to the 2022 numbers, and then we'll pass our own budget, next year.
Oh, sure. Look. Oh, absolutely. In fact, what I would argue for is a short-term continuing resolution.
Right.
Get them to January or February when Republicans have a voice. Because the concern right now, Tom, just so everyone in your audience understands, that if you were to take the 2022 levels and extend them out for a year, which is what the Democrats are threatening to do, then that keeps the military and all national security spending at 2022 levels. And because of Biden's economy and inflation, that's a huge cut to our defense infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And that's a big deal because that's our readiness, that's our warfighting capability, that's our shipbuilding, that's our airplanes. So that's a big problem. And so if I were a Republican right now, I'd insist on a short-term CR until Republicans can get in the House. What I'm saying to you is that McCarthy has no say right now. Pelosi entirely controls the House of Representatives until January 3rd. Mm-hmm. Okay, that being said, to get to the nut of your question, I think absolutely McConnell should be insisting and saying, I don't care. I'm not going to allow my members to vote for anything that doesn't either get us a short-term CR or it gets us to the table to deal with some of this real numbers. Rand Paul was on my show this week, Tom, and I share his disgust, because that's what it is, disgust. These guys act like they have nothing that they can be doing about it, and they do. Every one of those senators could be fighting back, and they're not. Right. They're complicit. And the problem is, Tom, you and I have guests on our show all the time, and they complain about problems, runaway spending, problems with China, and they act like they can't do anything, and they can. I mean, they are sitting at the all-you-can-eat buffet saying, I wish I could just lose some weight. Yeah,
look, they need to get on offense. And I ask members of Congress, as do you on your show all the time, don't tell me what the problem is. I get what the problem is. What is your agenda? What is your strategy? Give me the list of bills that you want to advance, and then let the Democrats turn around and say no and put them on defense. We were talking about a sea change and a real change in posture, a change in mentality. And you're right. The Republicans are known, conservatives are known for being the party of policy, for being the party that thinks a little bit more critically. But it's also a party that is fighting within itself. What do you think really needs to happen here to affect some sort of a change in posture?
So here's what I think we need to do. Start with the 80% issues.
Right.
Do you know how much waste there is in federal government? And I'm not talking about there are agencies that literally do nothing. Why are we sitting around and funding NPR? Why are we, the NEAA, all of these things that every conservative should say there's no reason, whether or not you support them or not, we shouldn't be using tax dollars. Why are we giving money to Planned Parenthood? This isn't a partisan and ideological issue. This is a question of whether or not we should be using our tax dollars. This is something that should unite every single conservative, every single Republican. Start with the stuff that unites us. Go one by one. And as you said, put every Democrat on record saying that this is what you think tax dollars should be spent for. Start with the stuff that unites us, because there's enough stuff that unites us that could take up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. When you're talking about $1 trillion+ that we spend all over every time, you have enough of those things that you can do. But we need some wins. And so start hitting some singles over and over and over again and show the American people that we're serious, that we can take a majority, that we've earned their trust, that we know how to be responsible with the majority. But I'm so tired of the whining and the acting like you can't do anything.
Yeah, no, it's got. We need, hopefully the new leadership. I know a lot of people are looking for, action on those 70-30 and 60-40 issues, and they do exist. Sean Spicer, thank you so much for your insight, sir.
You bet, buddy.
And remember, if you want to hear more of Sean's great commentary, along with that of his co-host Lindsay Keith, be sure to catch them every weekday right here on Newsmax. You don't want to miss.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the truth. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.